Okay, welcome everyone. Call tonight's regular council meeting to order. Recommendation that the regular meeting be suspended and the committee of the whole meeting be convened. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Niche. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. I'd like to call tonight's committee of the whole meeting to order. Recommendation that the agenda for the committee of the whole meeting of July 22nd, 2019 be adopted as circulated. Moved by Councillor Ady, second by Councillor Renhawa. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. So first up, we have a presentation by Mr. Joe Zelvitro and Carrie Dalton, Library Trustee, regarding the Prince Rupert Public Library Council update. Welcome. You might want to move that mic maybe over that way there. There you go.
Good evening, Your Worship, Council. Thank you for having us here to let you know what's happening at the library. Libraries have been changing. I'm aware I have 10 minutes, so I'll just be quick and to the point. Libraries have been changing at a greater rate over the past 20 years than in the previous 200. The place is less quiet, the activity is more diverse, and work being done in libraries is different than it has been. We serve everyone in the community from preschoolers to retired elders. Information is changing, and although today's teens are quite proficient with mobile phones, in about 40 years, many of them will be going to our library to get help with the latest technology. The library has skilled people and experience to help people of all ages get the information they need. Providing this to people is what we do. I just want to give you a snapshot of what is happening now being the past year and a half. Circulation of physical items is still the largest single activity we do, but other activities are increasingly occurring in the library. We'll start with some statistics from our 2018 AGM. And I won't read them all. You can see them. Circulation, almost 70,000. Patron visits to the library, about 54,000. Etc. Internet use and computer use in general is been growing. Children's programs often dependent upon number of people in community. We have about a total membership of about 8,500. That's really the bulk majority is Prince Rupert, some Port Ed, Laqualam, Skitkatla, Metlakatla, and Una River, Dodge Cove, and areas around here. The municipality is the primary funder of the library. Its contribution is approximately 85 to 89% of the library's entire revenue. It is important to us to spend these tax dollars effectively and wisely. In order to do that, the library board has to assess whether the collections programs and services we are providing are good for the people of Prince Rupert. The board does that through comparing the activities of our mandate. It's a long one, but it's basically to serve the community as a center for reliable information, support people in all their yearnings and learnings, to help children, young people, and old people, and to continually identify community needs, to provide programs that meet such needs and cooperate with other organizations. In late 2018 to the present, the library board has created 4 committees to ensure that the library's work is wise and effective. The 4 committees are Strategic Planning Committee, Fundraising and Grant Finding Committee, Library Director and Trustee Review Committee, and City Relationship Committee. Things have been changing, and so we want to keep on board and just can't do things the old way. Already we've made some differences, as you see, survey distribution, recently purchased a subscription to Grant Advance to help us with non-governmental funding, and increase some fees that reflect the value of them more appropriately. Most of this is behind the scenes, and the public doesn't see it directly, that being all the committee meetings, etc. One thing they do see, there are some changes that everybody sees, and we were able to fulfill a popular request this past spring. This past May, we increased library hours, and we were able to increase our hours from 1 to 5 p.m. to 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., which the patrons have appreciated. And it's been minimal cost overall because of how we organize that. A typical day now in the library. Information demands have changed, and I'm going to get to specifically what I mean. A big thing we do is job applications and resumes for community, for patrons. More businesses, from Walmart to the Port of Prince Rupert, and institutions, Northern Health and School District 52, are requiring either digital submissions of job applications or digital submission of supplemental materials. Some people are very comfortable doing this. A lot aren't, and that we try to help them. It's too small. I'm just going to... The big thing about this is I'm just trying to get you an idea of the small things that seem small, but they build up, especially they accumulate. And from 2016, you see things like people come in and look for income assistance or employment insurance help, Ancestry Online, banking, printing, taxes, etc. As you see, first I'll go to the totals. In 2016, we only had tasks, about 70 of these tasks. In 2016, 70, 2017, 194, 2018, 228, and only at half point of this year, 183. So we're growing at a big rate. One obvious thing we've seen is fishing or either title or sport licenses, vessel licenses. We didn't get too many, as you see in previous years, but in 2019 we had 32. That's because in early this year, without J&Es there, and there's only one place, Bob's on the Rock does fishing licenses for people, but they weren't open at the beginning of the season. That's why we got so much. I just wanted to demonstrate how the accumulation of all these other tasks that historically have been done other places, is now being more done in the library. Okay, what else? Okay. I seem to have forgotten that. Let's try that. There. Yeah, those are the licenses, etc. Another big thing we're seeing is that there's an increase of paper to digital conversions and back and forth. People come in and either fax or print digital information out or scanning paper onto digital. And we're seeing a big increase of that. And it's different software for different people. And not everybody has scanners. So I just give you those numbers. That's happened just in 2018. Those are numbers. Another big thing we're doing, we've seen an increase in what we call invigilation requests from the public in 2017, 2018. That's where somebody of authority is able to oversee an examination of a person because they're not in the school. They're not in the school. They're here in Rupert, and the school is elsewhere. We've seen an increase, as I showed you in that previous slide, in 2017 and 2018, and we believe that's a result of two things. One is that the library provides a good environment, low fees, and good service, and the second, there is not many other organizations doing this in Rupert, and those that are doing it, like the college, are considerably more expensive. As well, more institutions are seeking out proctors for their students. The growth of requests more than doubled from 2016 to 2018. And so far in 2019, it's doubled over what we had in 2018. Because of this, one of the things the board did is we raised our rates for invigilation. We're not the highest, but it's cost recovery and a bit, so it's good. Next. Partnerships are always important for the library. This slide features how we work with various partners. This is with the this past May, there was a whale festival here, and we had a speaker from the library, he was a scientist who talked about whale communication not far from Hartley Bay. And it was almost sold out. Well, not sold out, we didn't charge, but it was full. We also, as you know, work with the SD52 Friendship House, the Archives, North Coast Literacy Network, Success by Six, although they're unfortunately no longer being funded by the provincial government. But it's important for us to continually working with partners. This is another thing that's increased our work too, but for the betterment of everybody. BC One cards and BC Interlibrary Connect are provincial library bodies. BC One allows anybody who's a resident of BC to go any other library in BC besides their own and borrow without getting an extra account. It's partially funded by the provincial government, and it's grown. Together they've grown. BC Interlibrary Connect is another interlibrary loan program where if we don't have the DVD, the material, the book, the whatever, we connect with other libraries and get sent to us by mail. And that together, that's grown by 20% from 2016 to now. Yeah. I'm going to make it. Next. We live in a time and place wherein many believe that reconciliation between all people, but especially between the people who have suffered and those who have benefited from the formation of modern Canada, is helpful to everyone. What we can do in the library is provide information to all of these people through nonfiction, fiction, through meetings, through programs that can meet everybody's dreams and goals and to minimize the economic and social disparities that cause pain and dysfunction. One recent event we've held recently in June was our Read Indigenous Book Club that several Rupertites found enlightening and informative. And here we have, as you know, our MLA, Jennifer Rice, who enjoyed the program as well. And finally, we're here for everybody. From childhood to old age, the library is there for everybody. And we want to thank Council and the City of Prince Rupert taxpayers for their funding. We know how precious it is. And we just want to thank you all. So that's it for me. If there's any questions, Carrie and I'll be glad.
Thank you. Councilor Adie.
Not a question, more of an observation, because I'm the designated council member on the library board. I wanted to just affirm three things. One is the level of dedication of not just the board members, but it's very evident in sitting around the table with the people there that they really see this as an important task, but also the staff at the library and the degree to which I gather that they're willing to be involved in planning and discussions and brainstorming. So they really care about the library. I think that's fantastic. The second thing that struck me was I was a teacher in charge of a library at the high school for a number of years, and that stereotypical signing out of books, that's what libraries do. It's so much more than that, and I think you've done a good job of illustrating some of that diversity of service. Much more complicated than it was, as you said, 20, 25 years ago. And the final piece that I want to remark on is how important a public library is in terms of equity, because I may have the opportunity to provide opportunities for my family, maybe other people don't, and this is a really important way of leveling the playing field so that people have equity of access to services. So I think it's fantastic. Thanks.
Councilor Randhawa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for your presentation and doing great job for our community. Just wondering, are we visiting schools to bring more students to library, or do we have any plan for that?
Any projects?
Yeah, any plans to visit to schools to bring some more students into the libraries? Are we doing anything like?
Well, one thing we're working on right now, we have had it in the past. It's we're redoing our what we call Turning the Pages, which is an online searchable database of the entire history of the Prince Rupert Daily News. That is, we did have it up, and a couple of years ago it did go down, unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, and it's now coming back up, and that's brought more online attention to a library. Right now, we're working with other group from Friendship House, and with the possibility of having to teach them how to do literacy programs, and so that's given. They come to us, we go to them, and we're working on how to form their own literacy program, and that makes people come to the library as well. We have lots of kids groups coming, adult programs, be it like the Whale Watch or other, are going out through the year. The next one, well, we've had magicians, some of these pictures. So we try and do that. Well, the important thing of our survey is we're finding out what the community wants as opposed to what we think they want. Because it doesn't work if we just come up with great ideas. We want to know the needs of the people, and that's why we're surveying to find out what would draw them in.
Councilor Cunningham.
Thank you, Joe. It's enlightening to see the different programs you have at the library. I drop in occasionally, and it's really interesting the diversity of people that are in that library at different times of the day, and that it's like a sanctuary for some people, and it's a great asset for the community. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I just want to reiterate that it is very important, the whole idea of equity, because especially with computers now and the internet, it's fast. The government wants things done online and not necessarily providing an adequate amount of service for it. But yet people without this experience, they wouldn't do some things that they could do.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your presentation. We really appreciate your time today. Take care.
Thank you again.
Okay, next I'll call any members of the public who wish to come speak to council on any topic of their choice. Welcome back.
I'd like to ask about parking, and it's always one of those very contentious issues, but I think it's better is to get it out and discuss. The thing that prompted it is that people will ask me, there's recreational vehicles, parked out in front of my house, and they've been there for weeks, months. What do I do? When I asked this question before, it was go to the city and fill out a complaint form. I did that about an RV vehicle that's been parked there unchanged for weeks or months, and nothing happened. It's still there. So it's part of this is the city's problem in the sense that if I had an RV vehicle, the typical thing would be put in my backyard. Backyard's not accessible because the lane hasn't been developed. And same thing if I wanted to make my place back into a duplex housing. I can't get back into the lane to do the necessary parking spots. So it is the city. It is a problem. And I just, because we have increased, we have 2 bylaw officers. Can you think of what's the most, and I had to do this. And some people have motorbikes they leave on the street too, so in the same spot for ages. So what would be because it is sort of a bigger city and the problems vary all over the city, what can we do so we don't have some, like this one guy said, he's got 5 recreation vehicles parked in front of his house all summer long, and none of them are his type thing. So have you got any suggestions? In a way, it's just a topic to discuss, and I don't want to be part of it. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Any other members of the public who'd like to come forward? Okay, seeing none, and entertain a motion to adjourn to reconvene the regular council meeting. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Niche. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, recommendation that the agenda for the regular council meeting of July 22nd, 2019 be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Rinhawa, second by Councillor Ady. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Item 3A, recommendation that the agenda, or that the minutes of the special council meeting of June 24th, 2019 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Niche. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Item 3B, recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting of June 24th, 2019 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Ady, second by Councillor Randhawa. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And item 3C, recommendation that the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of June 24th, 2019 be received. Moved by Councillor Randhawa, second by Councillor Ady. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, first up we have a report from our Chief Financial Officer regarding the May 2019 financial variance report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Overall, the operating and utility revenues and expenses are on track for this time of year and are within budget. A couple variances of note are that water expenditures are higher than in the prior year, due mainly to higher service repairs and more water quality testing being conducted. The airport ferry refit came in higher due to unexpected necessary repairs, and of course the resultant substitute service adds some additional costs there. And that summarizes my report. Capital items will continue to roll in. This is just the May variance, and we're into July now, so June's variance will be on the agenda for August. Thank you.
Thank you. Recommendation that council receives this report for information purposes. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Skelton Morvan. Any discussion?
Do you have any update on the Cow Bay Marina? How this year looks?
So yes, the Cow Bay Marina had in the report, it shows on the revenues, and then it also shows the expenditures. So it shows what was in comparison to the previous year. And the revenues were down a little bit as of May. That was actually felt all the way throughout the province. At many other marinas, our marina manager contacted everyone just to find out. It's a little bit of a lull time by this May as compared to previous May. Now we are aware that things have been pretty much at occupancy for June and July. So May was a little bit off compared to previous year, but our understanding is that these things kind of go in ebbs and flows, and we're not the only ones that was experiencing that.
Other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, our corporate administrator, could you read out the items from the closed council meeting?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On June 24th, 2019, at Council's closed meeting, the following resolution was made in regard to the Prince Rupert Library Board of Trustees. Moved by Councillor Randhawa and seconded by Councillor Ady, that Councillor reappoint Stephanie Lissick for another 2-year term on the Prince Rupert Library Board, and that this resolution be released at a future regular meeting of Council. Carried.
Thank you. And I should also mention, welcome to Ms. Rosa Miller as our new corporate administrator. Looking forward to working with you. Okay, next up we have bylaws, a report from our city planner regarding the application to amend the quality of life official community plan and zoning bylaw for a portion of property located on Bigger Place. Welcome back.
The reason for this report is the progression in a process of reviewing and evaluating the application to amend official quality of life official community plan and a zoning bylaw for the property, which is describe it at Five Corners. The report presented to Council on June 10th, which includes full application as well as staff analysis, remains current, and it is included in its entirety in attachment 1. In brief, the applicant owns a prominent corner on the what we describe as Five Corners, which is mostly vacant. It is currently designated in the official community plan as R2 residential, and it is currently zoned in our zoning bylaw as C3 service commercial. The application is to amend the zoning bylaw to C3 service commercial and to amend the official community plan from residential to business commercial. Five Corners is the, you can see the red outline, the red dots. That's the westerly end of the downtown development permit area. It is generally considered to be suitable for commercial development, and this application does two things. It gives the applicant a better development site, and from the planning perspective, it fits into the long-term development plans, and it can be developed as a comprehensive plan. As per requirement of the City of Prince Rupert Development Procedure Bylaw, the applicant held a community information meeting on July 4th. There were 3 in attendance, not including staff and the applicant, a total of 7. Discussion was lively, in spite of small numbers, about the previously passed removal of road dedication bylaw number 3371, 2015. On the topic of land use, the dialogue was mostly positive and was mostly about height of the future development as it may affect the views. Internal referral did not reveal any issues, and Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure has not responded as of the date of this report. This concludes my report, Mr. Mayor, and the proposed amendment is consistent with the long-term downtown plan.
Thank you. Questions from council?
Could you explain a little more what the issues were around height? And was there any sense from the developer in terms of how much of the height allocation he was likely to take advantage of?
So the maximum height for C3 zone is 17 meters, which would give you 5 floors. The developer doesn't have a particular project in his mind, or in their mind, and partially he explained, and partially I had to also make sure that it's correctly portrayed, that most of the development will be accessed from Park Avenue. And the elevation difference between Park Avenue and the upper bench of the Big R Place, where the road is approximately 15 to 20 meters, depending on how we look at our topography. So, all in all, I think that it is possible to some view may be affected. At the present time, it can be portrayed as a development will still have to go through a development permit, and we will still have to look at the project in its generalities. And the 3 individuals who were there were satisfied with the conversation.
Any other comments? Okay, so recommendation that council give second reading to the proposed quality of life official community plan amendment bylaw number 3445 2019 and the proposed zoning amendment bylaw number 3443 2019, and that council schedule a public hearing for August 19th 2019 at 7 p.m. prior to the regular council meeting. Moved by Councilor Cunningham, second by Councilor Niche. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, at our last meeting, we had a presentation regarding the Lost Votes Initiative. And so the notice of motion was sent for today. So just for clarity's sake, that there is our UBCM resolution already being presented at the UBCM. So today's resolution is two parts. One is for the city to send a letter to the municipal affairs and housing in support of Fresh Voices, and then the second is that at the UBCM, council support that existing resolution at the UBCM. So it would read that, be it resolved that a letter be sent by the mayor and on behalf of the city of Prince Rupert to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing in support of the Fresh Voices campaign to allow permanent residents to vote in municipal elections, and that the following resolution regarding support for the Fresh Voices campaign be endorsed by the city of Prince Rupert, and that support be shown by way of resolution vote at the 2019 UBCM convention, which reads, whereas the province of British Columbia has the governing authority to implement electoral legislative changes, including allowing for permanent residents to vote in municipal elections, and whereas more than 45 countries have granted permanent residents some form of voting rights, including 7 jurisdictions in the U.S. and 25 European Union countries, and 11 municipalities in Canada are working towards extending local election voting rights to permanent residents, and be it resolved that the Union of BC Municipalities requests the province of British Columbia to make the necessary changes to allow permanent residents to vote in municipal elections in municipalities in British Columbia. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Adie. Any discussion?
I think this is pretty important because we have a lot of people that have lived in the community for years and don't have the right to vote. And they can contribute in a lot of ways. And I think it's something we should emphasize and try and push through.
Any other comments? I agree with what you're saying, Councillor Cunningham. I think it's definitely an initiative we should be supporting and is a no-brainer. Just had to say that. Okay, no other further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, any reports or inquiries from members of council? Councillor Cunningham.
I just want to bring something to council's attention and possibly the press, and that is there's a lot of hogweed in town right now, and some people are getting severe burns from it because they're not aware of it and the implications it can have. You know, it's being mentioned to me by a couple people, and my mother-in-law also experienced it. That it can give you up to a 3rd-degree burn, the sap from it, and you know, people are cutting it down and picking it up and not knowing about it and that. And so it's something that I would like to see us, maybe Veronica could set out something about it. Just let people know that it's not exactly a pretty weed. It can be quite painful.
Okay, yeah, I think we'll get staff looking at that. Thanks, Councillor Cunningham. Other reports from council? Councillor Adie, then Councillor Renha.
I just want to express my appreciation of the very vibrant planning session that took place with the redesigned Prince Rupert last week, and very appreciative of the efforts of the organizers to put it together, particularly Kaylee Marlowe. It was fantastic, and you know, if you'd asked me whether I could sustain 8 hours a day of poring over planning maps and so on, I might have had my doubts, but it turned out to be a really exciting initiative, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
And just to quickly further that, and thanks for that, that there'll be an opportunity for the public in December to see the plan come to fruition and what the outcome of that, because there's about 65 folks from the community from multiple organizations that are working on that initiative.
Adding to what Councillor Adie said is, I went in there kind of somewhat skeptical. You know, we've been through this exercise a couple of times, and I was quite surprised and taken by the whole presentation and that. It was very well done. The people in the room were experts at what they do, and they were so down to earth, it was unreal. You know, it's I walked out of there not quite as excited as the mayor, but still somewhat optimistic that something will come of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Renha.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In last few meetings ago, like Councillor Cunningham brought up about the crosswalk on the Park Avenue, and some few people again approached me. They said they want some install new crosswalk on the Park Avenue. So I'm wondering like if anything being done about that.
Yeah, we've reached out to highways as well as BC Housing has reached out to highways, and there's discussions about potential crosswalk being implemented at that location,
Yeah, there was some
especially due to all the housing that's being developed along that avenue.
close calls the last few weeks. So it's a matter of time when something bad can happen there.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are just one of those processes that takes some time, but there's definitely a few people that are interested in making sure that happens.
Yeah, just a note kind of on parking in kind of the Cow Bay area that I've been approached by a few business owners kind of regarding commercial vehicles as well as commercial fishing vessels in some cases being left for days at a time, which affects kind of the business operations of those businesses in that area. So just to kind of make note of that and possibly a bylaw to look into it and just kind of see what kind of options are available, especially those that don't necessarily have a pass to leave their vehicle kind of blocking up to 6 parking spots at a time in some of the parking lots down there. So just as a note. And again, I'd like to kind of second Councillor Adie's comments about the redesign, Rupert, and that it was a great initiative and great to see so many people come together and not only just highlight the problems and challenges that we face in the community, but how can we take reasonable steps and actionable items to move forward and make progress and change the face of the town. So thank you.
Speaking of bylaw enforcement, when's our second bylaw officer coming online?
I believe that interviews were conducted, so I'm pretty certain that it's going to be fairly soon.
Any other updates? I have a final update about the Alaska Marine Highway System. So there's it's a multi-pronged issue that spans federal jurisdictions as well as provincial and Alaska jurisdictions, and myself and Robert Venables, who is the executive director of the Southeast Alaska Conference, are attempting to organize a multi-stakeholder in-person meeting with all the stakeholders involved with the Alaska Marine Highway System. So we're looking at the governor's office in Alaska, someone from the Transportation Ministry or Department of Transportation in Alaska, as well as someone from the Alaska, they're doing an Alaska Highway Marine System overview, someone from that group, someone from the Southeast Alaskan Conference, which Prince Rupert is a member, ourselves, as well as BC officials and other officials from the Consul General's office. And so the challenge has been trying to organize that many people. Everyone has said they're interested to meet in person because the problem with this issue is that no one has actually ever really met physically in the same room to discuss solutions. And so after talking to the governor's office, they're certainly open to new approaches and a new change to how the marine system operates into Prince Rupert. But there's many hands and many people working on that initiative. Once a meeting date is organized, we'll certainly update the community there. In the meantime, I'll be up in Sitka, Alaska at the end of September for the annual general conference for the Southeast Alaskan Conference, which I attend every year. And I'll be meeting with mayors there and also local officials there, their representatives, and someone from Senator Stettman's office to discuss some solutions on the Alaska side. So although there might be some saline decreases this year, I'm certain that if we can get everyone in the same room, some solutions can be presented for a longer term solution to the entire ferry system. We're in a position where myself and Mr. Venables are the two people who are probably most strongly advocating for this, but have the least jurisdiction over the issue. So what we really need to do is make sure that the right people in the right jurisdictions get in the room and meet face to face for the first time to discuss a permanent solution that ultimately moves this thing forward long term. So that's my update right now for the ferry, unless there's any questions from council. Okay, there's no other updates. I entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Niche. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried.